Hi, good morning. My name is Baba Anthony, and I am with Okamaranso de Temple here in Miami, Florida. I hope that everyone has been staying dry these last few days. We've seen a whole lot of rain that is not typical, especially for so many days in a row. So I hope you're all staying dry out there. So today's topic is I am an Ifa devotee. I bring this topic up because there are many people during this time of season that have a challenge on discussing what Ifa means to them and how Ifa improves their lives. And I think this conversation is important, um, especially during this time of year when many families are getting together to celebrate. Um, we want to make sure that, one, I hope that everybody's being inclusive, including their family members, no matter what religion they practice, they're including them in their festivities and celebrations. And two, I'm hoping that as Ifa and Orisha devotees, we're armed with information that allows us to explain why Ifa and Orisha practice is good for us. Right? Many of us, it starts with the idea of reconnecting with a culture, but Ifa has so many life lessons on how we can improve our lives on a daily basis and how we can treat others. So I hope that you will learn something from today that will give you just a little bit more information on how you can discuss Ifa and Orisha with those around you. Let's start with the Odu of Iwori Meiji. The person whom we follow out is whom we ought to return home with. The person who a dog accompanies out is whom the dog ought to return home with. These were Ifa's declarations to Eleji Iwori, who shall take an intense but benevolent look at his akapo. He was advised to offer Ebo. Here we have the story of Eleji Iwori. He was coming to live a life where he would bless those around him with long life, with wealth, with good children, spouse, all array of life. And that was his task. He's going to decide who needed to have all of these blessings in their lives. So he goes to the Awo in heaven, if you will, to have Ifa cast for him before he makes his journey to this life. And so the Awo tell him that in order to find the people that you need to bless, you need to make sure that they are dedicated, that they are honest, they are hopeful, and they have humility. Right? These are four very important characteristics for all Ifa and Orisha devotees. And so Eleji Wori says Ashe. And so he offers his abo and he makes his way down to decide who he can bless with all of this information that he now has. And so the verse ends or goes like this, the complete verse. The person whom we ought to follow out is whom we ought to return home with. The person who a dog accompanies out is he whom the dog ought to return home with. These were Ifa's declarations to Eleji Iwori, who shall take an intense but benevolent look at his akapo. He was advised to offer a bow, he complied. Ifa, please take an intense glance at me with your eyes of benevolence. All hail, Iwori Meiji the Mighty. I am indeed your child. All hail, Iwori Meiji the Strong. If you take an intense look at one, one shall surely be wealthy, have good spouse, have lovely children, good home, and all the array of life. All hail Iwori Meiji the Mighty. I am indeed your child. Ashe. So this is a story that's interesting, right? One of the most interesting things about life in general is you always end up in some sort of conversation about what is your religious practice? What do you believe? Do you believe in God? Do you believe, what is it you believe in? There's a lot of fear that surrounds our practice simply for lack of understanding. And one of the easiest things for me to do personally is to start here. Someone says, what is Ifa and Orisha practice? And I start here. It's a practice that, one, wants me to live a life that is filled with dedication, a life that is filled with honesty, a life that is filled with hopefulness, and a life that is filled with humility. These are four important qualities that we should all have. Christians should have it. People of Islam should have it. The Jewish folks should have it, right? They're all asking for a very similar type of characteristics for their believers. And this is what's important to us. And people need to understand that. Now, I want you to understand, it's not that I'm saying that you need to defend Ifa and Orisha, because it doesn't need defense. But I believe it's important for us to share. I believe it's important for us to share. And so that's where I start. These are four characteristics that I apply to my life, that I want to happen within my own relationship. These are characteristics I want my children to have. And so they can go to school and say, my family is a family of Ifa and Orisha devotees. And this is what we believe. So let us all start there. Let's go to the next Odu, or next story from the same Odu of Iwuri Meiji. This verse goes, Orunmila declares that it is time to rest peacefully. I respond that all evil principalities must disperse. Orunmila cautions all water throwers to throw away water with care and consideration, lest they wet an important visitor. I ask, what type of visitor is Orunmila referring to? He responds that it is visiting Ajay, wealth. I ask, what other type of visitor? He responds that it is visiting Aya, spouse. I ask, what other type of visitor? He responds that it is visiting Omo, children. I ask, what other type of visitor? He responds that it is visiting Oye, chieftaincy. I ask, what other type of visitor? He responds that it is visiting Obo, longevity. I ask, what other type of visitor? He responds that it is visiting Ire. Before long, not too far, joinest in the midst of all Ire. So the story in this particular verse is Orunmila called on all of his disciples to come together. And he gave them a lecture that they needed to treat visitors and strangers with respect. And on the idea that them treating them with respect, they also needed to have hospitality towards them, right? He needed to make sure that when people come to see them, they treated them kindly. They offered them food, water, drink. They need to be hospitable. He said this was important because the good Awo must learn to never maltreat anyone, because one will never be able to tell how important that person will be in their life. He warned his devotees that when visitors had come, or things, or even the things that we received in life, they were all strangers before we got them. He emphasized that the more we showed all of the things that were strange to us with respect and humility towards them, the more blessings we would receive from Olodumare and Ifa. Orunmila also told his advisees to go home and offer Ebo. The disciples thought to themselves, right, as they came to a meeting, and says, Orunmila, why do we need to offer this Ebo? Right? This is kind of a challenge for us at this time. Why is it important that we do this? Orunmila explained. He says, let us think about it. Everything that we have acquired or want in life is a stranger to us first. He says, when we wake up in the morning, right, if we're blessed to have a spouse next to us, she began as a stranger. If we have children, they began as strangers to us. If we have a job, that began as something that we were seeking and in search for. And so that was a stranger to us. If we have a car and we're blessed to get around to where we need to go, that began as something that was not ours. And so Orunmila then began to explain, it's important that we treat everything and everyone with respect and hospitality, humility. We treat them all well. His devotee said, Ashe. So they go home, they offer the ebo, and all blessings and good things come into their life. So this story, it hits home. It hits home. If I'm going to be a devotee of Ifa and Orisha, I have to realize that so many things were a stranger to me in the beginning. When I new things come into my life, I want to treat them with respect so that they can be good to me in my life. When new people come into my life, as a representative of Ifa and Orisha, I want people to understand that I will treat them with respect and hospitality, right? I will show them kindness because that is the demand from Olodumare, from our Creator. We must treat others with respect. Does that sound familiar? We all know this. This is a part of every culture. We want to treat everyone around us the way we want to be treated. We've heard that saying before. And so this is Ifa saying the same thing to us. We need to treat others with respect. We need to show kindness. We need to be benign. We need to be good Ifa and Orisha devotees. I believe that when others see that, they'll start to understand how Ifa is affecting us in our lives. Are we that person who gets angry really quickly? Are we that person who when we see a stranger, we shy away and we don't say hello? If we are, then maybe we need to shift the way that we think, behave, react. I understand that the world is seeming like a more strange and delicate place. You'll have people who will do things that are not appropriate or not right, but it's not everyone. And so we're tasked with giving folks a try until we don't need to. Right. This is just another aspect of Ifa and Orisha that's very, very important. I think about this with my kids. Kids are shy as they grow and they get used to their bubble growing. They're trying to understand the world around them because their world is really just their mother and father in the beginning. And as their world grows and gets bigger, they have to start to let other people in, but sometimes they're very scared. But that doesn't stop me from saying, when we know people are good people, for example, friends of my wife and I want my kids to be able to trust those people. When my kids go to school and they have people working in the front office or people there, security or whoever they are, I want them to trust those people, say hello and be kind. I want them to show those strangers respect and kindness. I'm not saying anything that we don't already know. I'm just reiterating this so that we know, as people of Ifa and Orisha, this is what is being asked of us. Ashe. Let us go to the next Odu. This one comes from the Odu of Oshe Osa. Oshe Osa. Oshe Osa. All right. Oshe Osa. Ashe. Friendship is good. Quarreling is not. After quarreling, the friendship will be destroyed. These were Ifa's declarations, for Oso, their offspring in the land of Ake. He was advised to offer a bow. He complied. Love is the most important. Let us show love to each other. So now we're taking Ifa and Orisha and applying it to our relationships, right? Ifa says friendship is good, quarreling is not. Let's start at the very general level. When we have friends that we've known for a long time and we find ourselves in a disagreement, right? Ifa is telling us that one, we need to find ourselves out of that disagreement because friendship is absolutely important. Having other people in your life is an important thing. Now, unfortunately, you can't control if the other person stays mad forever. You can't control if the other person is mean, rude, spiteful, right? If that's the case, it's okay to separate yourself because quarreling, that person is causing the fighting between you two and won't stop, then that's when you need to make your break. And we know that. We know that. But if the fighting starts on your side, then it's a moment of self-reflection. Because again, Ifa is telling us friendship is good, quarreling is not. That's what we need to be focused on. When we look at our spouse or think about our spouse, again, friendship is good, quarreling is not. I don't enjoy having a disagreement with my wife. She is my best friend. And sometimes I know that if we get a little frustrated with each other, we get a little bit quiet. As soon as I drive away from home, she's the first person I want to call and whose voice I want to hear. We have to take care of these relationships. This is important. Again, Ifa is telling us friendship is good, quarreling is not. Let us decide that what we can control within our friendships, what we can control in our relationships, we work to make sure that we're nurturing these relationships and allowing them to grow and allowing them to become something that is so great that you never want it to end. As an Ifa and Orisha devotee, you do what you can to make sure that it works. And again, I reiterate the idea and the concept that if others are treating you poorly and it's a consistent process of them doing negative and bad things to you, then you probably should separate yourselves. But that decision is yours. I'm just sharing what Ifa wants for us, right? Love is the most important. Let us show each other love, and Ifa will support us. Ashe. Ashe. Let's go to another Odu. This comes from the Odu of Ogbe Iwori. Ogbe Iwori. The blade grass by the roadside is it that grows by the roadside and shoots outside the road. This was the Ifa cast for Ajay when weeping in lamentation for her inability to secure a suitable home of choice. She was advised to offer a bow. She complied. The blade grass by the roadside is it that grows by the roadside and shoots outside the road. This was the Ifa cast for Rumila when weeping in lamentation for his inability to secure a compatible wife of his choice. He was advised to offer a bow. He complied. All right. So we have the story of Ajay. To us, she's known as the Orisha, or deity of wealth. She had a tremendous amount of wealth. She's the daughter of Olokun Seniate. Olokun is the deity of the ocean, and many of us know and understand that the ocean has unlimited wealth. So many treasures and things that have landed there throughout the life of Earth, right? Hidden treasures. And Ajay is the daughter of Alokonseniate. Ajay is a hard worker. Ajay is a businesswoman. She has her wealth, even though, let's say, her mother and family is of wealth. She believes that it is always important to have a good work ethic in everything that we do. So we have Ajay. Ajay is at a point in her life where she is looking for uh, a mate. She's looking for someone to have to be by her. And because Ajay was so strong in her business acumen and everything that she did, uh, she kind of turned off some prospective suitors or people that were interested in her. Most people, men, believe that Ajay was too much. She already had everything she had. She was so headstrong. Uh, they believed that they just simply couldn't handle her. And so she lived her life in a sense of, wanting to always find a spouse, but never finding luck. Now, on the other side, so I heard the verse I talked about Orunmila too. Orunmila was in the position where he was very successful at this particular time of his life. He had lots of clients that were coming to them. Orunmila is our greatest prophet within this faith. And he worked hard. He was dedicated. He was always there for his clients. He was always working hard and making sure that they found solutions to their problems. Right? Orunmila just wasn't someone who did a reading or did something for the person and then they left. No, that wasn't him. He was always working. He was always finding solutions. He was always trying to get materials. So he lived his life busy. And at this particular time in his life, he was also having trouble finding a spouse. Right. And so here we have the story of Orunmila and Ajay. They both find themselves in a place where they couldn't find a spouse. They're both hardworking. They were focused on their work more than anything else. And so that kind of made them not attractive to many people, if you will. So they decide to go and have Ifa cast. This is at separate times before they knew each other. So Orunmila goes to have Ifa cast for himself. Babalawo tells him, you must continue doing what you're doing, your work, and being generous and being supportive that those that come to see you. But you must also offer a bow. And your worries of being able to find someone that it is suitable and that will understand your work ethic is going to happen. Lo and behold, when Ajay went to her owl, she heard a very similar story. The owl said to Ajay that your life will improve greatly. You're going to meet someone who truly understands where you're coming from, what it is you do, and how important it is to be dedicated, kind, and work hard in life to get the things that you want. She says, Ashe. So they both offer their abo, and they go about their days. Just a few days later, Orunmila found himself in the market where Ajay worked and ran her shop. They happened to meet each other. One thing led to another. Their conversations developed. They started to become interested in each other. And in this time, they started to date. Now, what was interesting is that after they met, they both had these readings that said, okay, they're going to meet somebody. After they met, excited, that they had met someone else who was so much like themselves or each other. also physically attracted to each other. They both went back to their awos and said, okay, I think I found the person. Orumila, is this, or Ifa, is this the, the spouse for me? Orumila did that. Ajay did that with their respective awos. And then it was confirmed, right? Then it was confirmed. Ifa said, yes, you two will be a blessing to each other financially, long lives, the development of family, all the blessings you want. Your destinies will support each other's destinies as you continue to grow together. Shortly after, they found themselves back together. They continued their process of dating, courting, and before long, they were married. Now, they were helping each other grow, right? Orumila's load started to lighten because he had students and helpers that were helping him find materials. Ajay had the market which sold some of these materials. So they were able to go to Ajay's market to get some of the items, and they continued to support each other, right? This story for me is an interesting one because as Ifa and Orisha devotees, there are some things that we need to know and to understand. We need to know and to understand. If we happen to be married within our, in our relationships now, and we're in a place where we are married to our husband, wife, everything is wonderful. That is great. That is great. If we are single and looking for someone, we need to really hear this story and understand that there's someone out there for us. And it's the assistance of Ifa that will help push things in the right directions, right? Right direction for us, right direction for the other person. If we meet the person that we believe will be great for us, then we go to Ifa and we ask if we'll be in support of each other's destiny. That's a great way to do it. Will we help each other through our lives? Will we be supportive of each other? Will all of these things come together for us? And those of us that are married, we should always be casting Ifa in support of our marriage too, right? Because we want to make sure that we understand where we can see our pitfalls and our challenges. We need to understand those things. Ifa is about guidance. Ifa and Orisha are about guidance. They're about lifting our lives up and bringing goodness into our lives. So I think about that. And then I say to myself, how does this apply? Well, one of the most important things for us all is that we live a life with a very unique and individual destiny. Even if we have the same sign, Odu, whatever, if everything lines up, we all have individual destinies that we live. Sometimes folks may say, well, I don't understand why you're dating that person or you're dating this person. If Ifa supports it and it is a good relationship, let that relationship develop. If you came to Ifa and Orisha and you found yourself being separated from someone who you thought was going to be amazing, but it turns out things didn't quite work out, your destinies weren't clicking, things weren't aligning, there's a reason for that. And if you get the guidance from Ifa, then it's important to hear that advice, because not everyone is for us. But then for some reason, everybody will say, they seem like such a good spouse for you or a good mate, but they don't know the details, right? I bring up this particular story because it's hard for folks outside of Ifa and Orisha to understand the guidance that we get in our lives. It's difficult. Our friends who are Christians, for example, they may say, "Give me a sign." And for us, when we say, "Give me a sign," that sign is given, the information is there. Our job is to understand, digest it, and live it, or not. You always have a choice. But our signs come to us. They're given to us through the system of our practice. So that's an important part of what Ifa and Orisha is. Can we discuss that with our family? Can we discuss that with our friends? I don't know. These are questions for you. I'm not here to answer them right now, but these are things I want us to think about. Right? These are things I want us to think about. Let us go to the last Odu that I have for today. It comes from the Odu of Irosun Odi. Irosun Odi. Ashe. Deliciously do we prepare vegetable soup. With extensive varieties do we display beads. These were Ifa's declarations to Orunmila when going to have Wura, pure gold, as his wife. He was advised to offer a bow. He complied. Any Babalao who has extensive knowledge of Ifa, such a Babalao is blessed with pure gold in his stomach. Ashe. So my thought and analysis of this particular verse of Ifa is that Ifa is telling us that we need to be well versed in our fields of study. Whatever it is that we're doing, whatever career we have chosen, we need to be well versed, right? Our pure gold is gold, our pure gold is the knowledge that we have about our particular field. Maybe you're in an area where you don't see yourself living the rest of your life doing, right? You're in a job and it's like, oh, I'm not going to do this job for the rest of my life. That's fine. But you should do that job well. You should do that job as someone who is trained to do that job so that you can bring about goodness to your work and to those around you. And then whatever field that you're wanting to go into, you're doing your work to prepare yourself to get into that field. Again, this is guidance that Ifa or Orisha is telling us. All right? This is guidance that we need on a daily basis. You know, there are a lot of questions that people could ask Ifa and Orisha people. Right? What is it you believe? Well, I believe Ifa's telling me that I need to live a dedicated life. I need to live a life of humility. I need to live a life of showing others with respect. Well, how about you meet a spouse? What is that? Right? You've been single for so long. Through the guidance of Ifa, I'm trying to improve that. Now, the spouse area, I always, because this is an area for many of us that we need to understand. When we get guidance on a spouse, we can't sit at home behind our doors and expect the spouse to go knock, knock, knock. I cast Ifa, and he says we should get married. No. Hopefully we all know that and understand that part of it. We need to be like Orunmila and Ajay, and we need to be out for that chance happening for us to meet that spouse. Right? We need to make sure that we're well versed. I'm just trying to wrap everything up for us together, right? Remember, today's topic is I am an Ifa devotee. There are many different aspects that we can discuss that why Ifa Orisha is good for us. Whether it's reconnecting with your culture, whether it's understanding the importance of prayer, all of these things are good for us. During this holiday season, or any time in your life when you feel comfortable, I encourage you to use your knowledge of Ifa Orisha to share with those around you why this religion is important to you. I encourage you. You'll be surprised at what can happen. You'll be surprised at the knowledge that these people will gain and then relax. I bring this up because I had a very interesting conversation with my aunt last December. And not many people know this, but last December, the matriarch of my family, my grandmother, she passed away. And it happened on sometime around midnight, 1 a.m, like right after Christmas Day. So I got the call from my aunt. I went up to stay with her, spend some time with her, to help her through the process of taking care of funerals, funeral rites, and all those things. And we had a lot of time to talk. My aunt is a Christian. And of course, as all of you know, I'm an Ifa devotee. And what was really interesting is that, I wanted to share what I believed and what I thought and what I practiced. My grandmother lived a long, long, beautiful life. My aunt was there for her for so many years, assisting her through her life, brought her up here back from Jamaica to Florida to live with her for like the last, I want to say 30 years of her life. And so they were super close. They were very close. And one of the things I remember sharing with her is that I said to her, you know what? I'm sad that grandma is gone. I'm sad that she's not here anymore. But I'm happy that she's returned home. I'm happy she's returned home. As Ifa says to us, heaven is our home and the world is our marketplace. The life we live, this is the marketplace. And for me, that's what got me through like the challenging time that was going on, losing of my grandmother, right? I kept thinking she's now home. Right? Heaven is our home and the world is our marketplace. It's something we should think about because that's a belief that Ifa Orisha has for us. And so that fostered a conversation about, oh, interesting, because I remember the priest who came to speak at the wedding said something similar. And so it opened up so much more and a chance for me to talk more about Ifa Orisha. And so what did I do? I took points from this particular sermon and I spoke about them. And she listened. And at one moment she said, wow, I think she considers doing something like a Bible study to bring people together to talk about it. And I said, yes, that's the goal. Working on trying to have Ifa Temple to bring folks together so that they can understand Ifa Orisha together. But for me, as how old am I now? 44-year-old, person here in this life. That was a huge opening. That was a huge lift for her to understand what Ifa and Orisha meant in my life and how important it is for my family and how we need to raise our kids. And she was okay with it. It wasn't me defending my faith. It wasn't her saying, oh, you're going to hell. None of that was happening. It was a respectful conversation, and then surprise, and then support. That's what I want for all of us. But a lot of that doesn't begin until we can say that I am an Ifa devotee, and then we can speak about why Ifa is important to us in our lives. We don't need to push it on people. We don't need to defend Ifa. That's not the goal. And you will have to use your judgment about the best time to have these conversations if you want to have these conversations. I'm not here to force you. I'm not here to say you must do this. But I felt so moved in my life on so many conversations that I've had with others. It's not just my own family, but it's with the people that I work with at an Episcopal Christian school. I had the same conversation there with folks, and everybody's like, wow, I didn't know that. And so I come to you all today, and you all know that I share this message is that I am a proud Ifa devotee. And if we can talk about Ifa with others, then it makes our lives just a little bit better, a little easier. So that being said, I thank you for joining me today for the conversation about Ifa and Orisha. I have just a couple of announcements. This Saturday, let me check my calendar. This Saturday, December 23rd will be our next Ifa temple service. And we're going to be having a celebration. I'm joining up with one of my brothers in Ifa, my godfather of the drum for Anya, also known as Ayan in Nigeria. We're joining together to have a celebration of Eshu. In Nigeria, during this time of year, there is the Eshu is not Satan yearly celebration because they deal with over there in Nigeria when the Bible was created for the people of Western Nigeria, that the idea and concept of Eshu became translated to be equal to the devil within the Bible. And so they have a campaign every year of Eshu is not Satan. Eshu is not Satan. He doesn't have the characteristics of Satan or someone that is evil. Eshu is the deity that carries our prayers to Olodumare. So when we pray, Eshu is the one given the ashe to take it and go. So we are having a celebration. It's not necessarily an Eshu is not Satan because we don't have that conversation here in the diaspora. But it's simply to celebrate Eshu for who he is and all the good things that he does for us. So we're going to have a Ifa temple service. Again, this will be Saturday, not Sunday. Ifa temple service about Eshu. We're going to be having offerings to Eshu as well as drumming and songs. So if you're in the Miami area, South Florida, Central Florida, wherever you're from, please come down to join us for the Eshu celebration. All you have to do is to message me, and I'll make sure to get you the information. It's not a unlimited size house, so we will request that you RSVP so we know how many folks are coming. And if you are coming, please plan to bring an offering, gin, kola nut, orogbo, echo, the corn flour or yam flour, or money offering, money donations is also accepted. So please consider that and consider joining us down here in Miami for an Eshu celebration which will also be shown live on our Okanran Sode posts here. So please consider joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week and a wonderful holiday season. Aboru, aboye, aboshishe oboato.